Hi, welcome to Pro Lifting UK. My name is Chris Crowley. I'm going to take you through a short presentation on legislation overview. We are just going to touch on it, but I'm hoping we can get across the message of how important it is and easier ways for us to be compliant. So, an overview. Every building site in the world requires items to be lifted. The way this is done varies from site to site, and as a result we get numerous near misses, incidents and accidents. To avoid this situation we need guidance and to improve safety. This training module is designed to familiarise people with varied experience of lifting operations with information and knowledge for managing the use of lifting equipment and accessories. We need guidance, and without guidance everybody will do their own thing. And the certain governing bodies that put these in place are experienced, have seen bad things happen in the industry, and some very intelligent people have worked on these legislative documents, approved codes of practice, etc., to enable us to put our people to work safely. So we need to know where it is, what it is, and how best to use it. Okay, let's set the scene. Consider the following questions. Does gravity work 24/7? Yes, it does. Have loads ever just dropped without warning? Yes, they have. Has anyone ever been injured or killed as a result of standing near a load? Yes, they have. Does rigging ever fail? Yes, it has. Does lifting equipment ever tip? Yes, it has. Has a lifting operator error ever occurred during or after a lift? Yes, it has. Do loads ever slip? Yes, they do. Our industry is full of life-threatening risks. Okay? And our jobs as experts, professionals, managers, employees, business owners, everyone has a responsibility and must be accountable to make sure that all of this stuff has been risk assessed. We've looked at it all and we've done absolutely everything we possibly can to ensure that these things do not happen. Legislation and guidance. A safe environment is not one in which there is an absence or low number of serious injury incidents, but is the result of active participation by management and staff identifying hazards and then doing something positive about them. Everybody must participate in working safely. Everybody. It doesn't work unless we all work together. Legislation and guidance. Here is your ammunition. We all have a duty of care in creating a safe work environment. Everything starts with the Health and Safety at Work Act. Specific to our industry, we've got LOLA, Lifting Operations and Lifting Equipment Regulations. We've got PUA, the Provision and Use of Work Equipment Regulations. We've got CPA, Strategic Forum documents, technical information notes, and a wealth of current up-to-date information here. We have the British Standard documents where for us the British Standard pulls together an easy way for us to comply with LOLA and PUA, and we have all sorts of approved codes of practice. So everything that we need to plan and carry out lifting operations safely is at our fingertips. We must comply with the following. So where it all begins, the Health and Safety at Work Act. The Health and Safety at Work Act 1974 lays down wide-ranging duties on employers and employees. Here we're going to look at Section 2 and Section 7. Section 2, it shall be the duty of every employer to ensure so far as is reasonably practicable, the health, safety and welfare at work of all his employees. Now, from what I can see in our experience working with the clients that we work with, all of our clients give the employees every system, documentation, support, guidance in every way they possibly can in order for them to carry out their work safely, thus complying with Section 2. A lot of effort is put into, from what I can see, a lot of effort is put into making sure that the employees are safe when they go to work, especially on the sites we work on. Section 7 is where the employee now needs to be aware of what his duties and responsibilities are. Section 7 of the Act places a duty on the employee to take reasonable care of the health and safety of themselves and others who may be affected by their acts or omissions at work. So if you see something that isn't right and you don't do anything about it and you walk by, you can be held accountable under Section 7 of the Health and Safety at Work Act for not doing something even though you knew what they were doing was wrong. We all have a duty of care for each other. It also says you must work in a safe manner yourself and not put other people in harm's way. LOLA, Lifting Operations and Lifting Equipment Regulations 1998. Put simply, the LOLA regulation requires that every lifting operation involving lifting equipment must be properly planned by a competent person, appropriately supervised, carried out in a safe manner. All equipment used for lifting is fit for purpose, appropriate for the task and suitably marked, with suitable maintenance recorded and defects reported. Again, we're just touching on LOLA here, but properly planned by an appointed person, appropriately supervised by a trained, competent supervisor. The number of supervisors would depend on the number of machines, the size of your site, and again, this would be taken into account pre-construction stage and planning stages. PURE, Provision and Use of Work Equipment 1998. Again, put simply, the PURE regulations aim to make working life safer for everyone using and coming into contact with machinery and equipment, including employers, employees, contractors, suppliers and anyone else who might use or have access to machinery in the workplace. The regulations aim to ensure that all lifting equipment is suitable for its intended purpose, regularly maintained to ensure safety, used only by people who have received adequate training, inspected by a competent person. PURE and LOLA are basically go hand in hand. You know, before we receive any machinery on site, the supplier must be conforming to PURE. When we get it on site, LOLA comes into action for us, and we must be then compliant with LOLA. Approved Codes of Practice. Approved Codes of Practice, ACOPs, are guidance with specific legal standing. They deal with a wide range of working practices. Employers who are prosecuted for a breach of health and safety law who have not followed an ACOP are likely to be found at fault by the courts. Failure to follow an approved code of practice isn't an offence in itself, but an employer will need to be able to show that equally effective methods have been adopted to demonstrate compliance with the law. So the guidance and the approved codes of practice are there. The law and the people and the authorities are aware that all of this approved codes of practice are in place. So there is no excuse for not following best practice guidance in any case. So I suppose what they're saying here is follow it, because if or do not follow it but create something that's better than it. You've got to create something that's the same or better than the available guidance. BSI, British Standards Institution. BSI, the Business Standards Company, has revised the Code of Practice for the safe use of cranes and lifting equipment, which is used by those planning and carrying out lifting operations in the UK. It provides guidance on complying with the requirements of both LOLA and PURE, and is used by both the Health and Safety Executive and the courts as an indication of good practice. Following the guidance assists with mitigating the risk of accidents, injuries and fatalities during the setup, use and maintenance of lifting equipment. Very useful document that has been used for years by our industry. And again, used by the courts, by the Health and Safety Executive as very accurate guidance on what we should be doing on our sites. So again, if you do not follow the British standard, you must have in place something that is as good as or better than. CPA, Construction Plant Hire Association. I personally live in these documents because of the up-to-date information and the regular updates to the documents, the involvement that the CPA allow you to have when they're changing and updating documents. It's the meetings they have, the seminars they put in place. Everything is all aimed at a better, safer industry. And so the Crane Interest Group has been in existence for over 25 years. It's the largest of all the specialist interest groups, commanding respect in both UK and in Europe. There are publications detailing the safe use of lifting equipment, including excavators, telehandlers, hoists, safe operation of mutes. Again, walking along railways, there's everything you need to be compliant with everything that we've just been through. You will find if you're working to the CPA standard, you will be compliant with British Standard, with LOLA, with PURE, with the Health and Safety at Work Act, if you are following the guidance on these documents. For me, we've always followed the guidance on these documents, and we've never gone too far wrong with any of the guidance. So very useful, and in my opinion, the go-to place for the most up-to-date documentation. Final thoughts. Do not play Russian roulette when it comes to safety. If in doubt, stop and reassess. Use all available documentation and resources available to you to ensure you are planning your lifting operations correctly. There is no such thing as a stupid question when it comes to keeping people safe. Remember, these are our people. We must keep them safe. We must put them to work in a safe environment. We do not ask them to do anything that would put them in danger or ourselves. And all of the documentation to help us to comply and put things in place to ensure the safety of our people are there. I've only briefly touched on it on this presentation. Each slide from this presentation, you could spend hours and hours and hours talking about. So again, at ProLifting, we are happy to demonstrate that, come to sites and talk through each one of those slides in depth with anyone who would like to hear more. But for now, I hope we've kind of demonstrated the importance of the legislation, why it's there, and just briefly touched on some of the key points to bring to your awareness. Thank you very much.